Alright, hello everyone, my name's Chaos, and I'm just here to showcase a little bit of my build that I'm planning on starting in the next league for Path of Exile. Now, this is a fully juiced Path of Building. Do not think this is completely accurate, this is like the end of the line. While melee DPS doesn't look great, but I can assure you this will probably be doing tons of damage and sustain. Uh, To start with, I just wanted to showcase a quick interaction with a few things that the community found and I kind of piggybacked on. The Count Spirit Gloves are like infinite rage regen with the new, or excuse me, not new, but reworked Time of Need. Now this is 100% instead of 30% now, and the interesting thing about it is at its peak window, which is what's showing here, it is 92.2% rage regen on top of all the other regen you have in the tree. Now, this is pretty impressive considering you don't technically lose any of the number of your regeneration, but it just becomes disabled. This does the same thing. It disables the regeneration, but it instead turns that into a tenth of just flat recovery chunks. Now, every 4 seconds, which is also in time with need, time limit, excuse me, it recovers. And it is, I believe, around 600 health every 4 seconds, so it's not an insane amount, but that's just like popping a free potion every 4 seconds, while also trying to regain some of the effect of that recovery you're snapshotting for regen. Now, maybe I'm doing some of this wrong with the path of building, but I tried to optimize as much defensives as well as damage, but for instance, I am going to be doing the fresh meat support gem instead of minion damage here. Possibly instead of behead. I'm not 100% sure yet which one would be better, but the only reason I'm doing domination is because I'm attempting to play the new Guardian reworks, which involves a little quick thing. 30% to 100% on this. This got removed onslaught, and instead someone's a garbage sentinel that has a righteous fire that you can't scale. The key ticket here is 10% damage is mitigated from you, which is pretty good, but for an alone ascendancy, not worth losing onslaught guaranteed and everything. Speaking of onslaught guaranteed and everything, the war cry is the fill. It's not 100% uptime now, but it is a way of dealing with it for the most part. You do lose some more damage from this node though, since they replaced it. I'm trying out the Unwavering Crusade. This summons 3 elemental relics that give you anger, hatred, and wrath respectively on a 5-second duration per relic. They also explode on death, but it's not a big deal considering you'll probably be having, I'd say, around a 99% uptime on this ability, considering your amounts of attacks, and this also triggers whenever your minions kill stuff too. Jewel's not feasible early on. This is like a 30 divine jewel for minions. Do not expect this at all. I actually took all this, well, these for charge generation, this for onslaught, but everything else I took these just to see what the damage would be at. I used to go down here and grab some of these defensive nodes, all resist and life, in place of this. Probably what I'll be doing before I get a jewel like this in my hands. To go over the quick skills, it's Fall Domination, obviously, with all those stuff. I have a ton of mana reservation, so I probably won't be using the second auras in the beginning, but just Determination, Haste, and Discipline. Haste is now mandatory because they did remove the Guardian Onslaught from everything being guaranteed, so almost mandatory. I'd argue it is mandatory just because if you don't have Haste, you might as well just go Necro. All the duration nodes up here make Domination around a 46-second secondary duration. I think it's like a minute or something for the big boy that you summon, but that turns into about 4.6 seconds of fresh meat uptime for adrenaline and crit chance and crit damage. That is pretty huge, and the kicker with this is Vol Domination does not refresh like Absolution does, doesn't refresh the minions, but it resummons them. So that 25% chance to summon a normal sentinel on hitting a unique monster is not refreshed. So ideally, you keep getting that procced. whenever you're fighting a boss within 4 seconds. So 25% chance you're hitting around 7 times a second. You're going to get a proc a second ideally. It's not going to be the maximum amount of damage you can do with it, but it's a pretty big chunk of window. I tried alleviating some of these missing stats or parameters we have on Path of Building. I did say in the beginning, by the way, this Path of Building is not relatively feasible. This is as hard maxed out and as a bait of a Path of Building as I could feasibly generate. For my own pleasure, obviously. But yeah, fresh meat also includes the crit damage and crit chance. I could not figure out a way actually to apply that to my minions, so I just instead kept minion damage on there to alleviate it for the time being. Pretty sure this might be better still, but not 100% sure considering the uptime. The uptime being 4.6 seconds is really hard to maintain in a single target scenario. In a map clearing scenario, it's easy. 46 seconds to 4.6 seconds is not hard to get. The reason I say that is because I'm not using Splash. I would be probably running Splash, but I opted for Strike, target additional enemy instead. Normally, you could be getting that on Rare Gloves with a Searing Exarch implicit, but because I'm using the Count Spirit, I cannot do that, which I think Rage Regen outweighs that, in my opinion. You could also be getting an Exposure, but I don't know which ones you'd want, probably. Uh, Forbidden Flame, Forbidden Flesh, it's just to grab Sanctuary of Thought for the mana reservation and mana less cost of skills. That's pretty important considering the amount of auras I'm attempting to run. Also, this build is very mana heavy. If you don't have minus mana cost on rings, it's going to be very hard early on to sustain. So I'd probably be using an over cap mana duration flask, whatever you call it, where it doesn't stop when it's capped out. Instead, I'm just using defensive flask right now and a Progenesis to mitigate the damage that you take even further. This is very helpful if you're ever getting one shot, by the way. If you guys have any questions or anything, please ask away. I'm very interested to see what people will think about this. I'm excited to play the new league. I love auto battlers, and I'm trying to think about that in an ARPG sense. So, Dominating Blow, new flavor class, even if people think it's garbage because of Radiant Crusade. I sort of agree with that part, but I do like me some relics that spam shit. Anyways, thanks for watching, and give me your feedback, please. I'd love to read it.